Hi, this is Jen Healy coming to you live with the AYRx Yoga Swing, and I wanted to share with you a bit of what I'm doing for the Master the Basics workshop that's happening tomorrow in Marin at Meta Yoga. And I wanted to approach the swing from a slightly different standpoint since I've been teaching the therapeutics for quite a while. And my background is really incorporating the science and the healing arts into a yoga program where we use the swing as a supportive piece of equipment to go deeper into alignment. If you've been watching my videos, I've been pretty obsessed about the alignment principles in the last few years, and I wanted to share with you why that's so important to me and use the alignment principles to go deeper into some of the practices and the poses too. So we're going to use the equipment in 4 different ways, basically. There's the main swing that we use, and then there's hand holds and leg loops. So we can use those both separately and together. So when we use it all together, that would be way number 4, which is mainly for like floating and for doing more dynamic movements. So I'm going to break it down for you guys in those 4 basic movements, the way that we use the swing, and I'm going to incorporate the alignment principles into the practice while we do this. I'm going to try and move the camera a little bit closer because it feels like you guys are so far away. So just hold on one second while I get you guys situated. That's a little bit better. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and go for it. So the main swing, the pose that I like to use the most is called a sumo squat. And it's mainly because when I'm working with people in my therapeutics practice, I'm wanting to help align the spine. And I call it the plumb line or a pillar. So we use these beautiful round mandala mats that I make to help to define the space, because we're really working with the spherical nature of the body and also the spiral dynamics. So we want to get the crown of the head pointing up towards the sky and the tailbone pointing down. In most of the poses that we do, we're going to keep that alignment of the spine, and then we're going to use the suspension to traction the spine and create space for the vertebrae to take pressure off of the discs, off of the joints there, whether it be the shoulders that there's a problem or the neck or the lower back. It's all going to benefit from lengthening and opening the spine. So let's get started with a simple sumo squat by bringing our arms around the swing, pushing it down because it's always going to ride up. And this particular swing that I make is very stretchy. It has a little bit more of a give, has a bounce, and it also is made of cotton with a lycra blend, so it's stretchy and comfortable. So from the center of the mat, let's go ahead and lean back. When we lean back, the first thing we're going to do is let it be right behind the sternum. And we're going to clasp our hands to support our head, and we're going to just gently rock from side to side. We're going to first feel the heart start to open as we relax our head back. And this could be the most gentle, supportive back bend, just to open up the upper thoracic spine. And you can make sure the swing is in the sweet spot, I call it. So we don't want to just flare open the ribs. We actually want to get the upper thoracic spine to open. The swing is going to be right below the tips of the shoulder blades the whole time that we work together. So we can use the swing in about 4 different ways as well. We can use the swing around the upper back. We can also use the swing around the hips when we go into our inversions. And so we can push the swing down to our lower back, right along the iliac crest where the hip bones are. Or we can actually bring the swing in front of us, and we can use the swing at the front of the hips. And so this is really important. We can come into a forward fold this way. I'm doing a bit of a review to begin. When we come into a forward fold, this helps to suspend the upper body as we drape over. So there's not so much pressure on the joints, and we can really hang and get as much space as possible. Okay, and then the other way that I like to use the swing, and if you ever just need a break, you can spread everything out and jump in. So I'm going to demonstrate that as well. And this little demo is going to last just a couple more minutes, and then we're going to get started with our practice. Okay, so you can actually get in, and I call it cocooning, and take a little nap here, or just relax. It's like Shavasana in the air for those that do practice yoga. Okay, so this one can go upper back, lower back, front of the hips are completely spread out where we can get in. So let's go back to the center of the mat, putting the swing behind our back. Let's go ahead and use our forearms to press in and slide to the front of the mat. I like to heel toe wide to 10 and 2. Coming into a basic sumo squat, remembering our plumb line, keeping the crown of the head pulling up towards the sky, our tailbone sinking straight down, deepening in the hip flexors, rolling the pubic bone down and under in order to let the hips hang. And then you can see the swing is pulling up on my upper body, and this is the tractioning that I'm talking about. Most of the poses that I do in a beginner practice are upright. So these are all the upright positions. We can definitely get into inversions in a more intermediate or advanced practice. And from that position, I would push the swing down to my hips, wrap my legs wide and around. So we always have to hug the swing, and I can come upside down. That's how the swing can be on the lower back. So now I'm tractioning the spine out of the pelvis and creating space for the vertebrae by using gravity, but it's around my hips. And this is a little too advanced for some people. I have found that 90% of the people I work with can go into an inversion, but not right away. So it's always good to check with your doctor or check in with whatever health practitioner that you work with and make sure that inversions are right for you. Most people can go upside down, but if you have low blood pressure or cataracts or some special needs or special illness, you might want to just check in. Ultimately, inversions and lengthening the spine are going to increase energy flow. They're going to bring more blood and oxygen, lubrication to the discs and to the joints. And it's also going to help relieve the tension that's in the nervous system. And these are all super important for creating health. So yeah, I just like to kind of cue that it's super important to check in and make sure with your healthcare provider that it's okay for you to go upside down. Otherwise, you don't have to. You can just stay in an upright position, and you can see I'm really close to the ground. When I'm using the main swing, I usually either have my hands or my feet on the ground, so we're supporting our weight. So you don't have to fully suspend you. You don't have to be 30 feet in the air. This is more of a therapeutics practice than an aerial arts practice. So let's go ahead and come into a supported back bend. Once again, toes at the front of the mat. Swing right behind the sternum, clasping the hands, gently rock from side to side. We're going to start out nice and slow, and then we're going to explore the hand holds and leg loops and do some more combinations as we float along here. And then we'll wind up with our chilaxin sequence and maybe even floating Buddha if we have enough time to explore how we can use all the pieces together. Okay, so I'm gently rocking from side to side, leaning back. So my head is in my hands. My heart is rotating up towards the heavens, and my legs are grounded. I'm pushing my feet into the ground, and my hips are in alignment. So I'm pushing back into a diagonal. Okay, always try and incorporate your breath even when you're learning something new into the practice. It can be difficult at first to remember to breathe, but it's super important to remember that we are doing yoga translations, and so we want to really pump the body with new breath and new life and use every exhalation to let go of the tension and just let it drain out of the body. Very good. So after we come back to center, we're going to inhale, open the arms wide, exhale, forearm press. Come back down to your sumo. So we just did a little side-to-side action into some lunges, and now we're going to do some twists. I'm just twisting my hips from side to side, loosening up the pelvis, giving my body a chance to drop the hips as I open the heart. Remembering my alignment principle is pulling up through the crown of the head, so my gaze is either at the horizon or slightly up, and my hips are dropped, so I'm deepening in the hip creases and rolling my pubic bone down. So you can see I'm sitting really low in my chair here. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and from here, do some really gentle twists, adding on, bringing the feet together to the front of the mat. I'm going to inhale. Let's go ahead and pick up the right foot and roll into the outer edge of the left and step into what I call a figure four. So my front foot is at 12 o'clock, and then my right foot is going to be over at 3 o'clock if you have the round mats at home. Otherwise, just try to see if you can come into a 90-degree angle there. Dropping the hips deepens the stretch into the obliques, and then I can inhale and lift, exhale and drop. Inhale, lift, exhale, let it go. Take your time here. Really feel into the stretch. The slower you go, the deeper the stretch. So there's no rush in these poses. It's really about how much can you let go and release. Let's inhale, bring that foot back to center. If you need a little break, because it will get intense under the arms, holding your weight, just give it a little wiggle. Let's try that again. Let's flex the toes back, roll onto the outer edge of the right foot, step the left foot over to 9 o'clock. It's either 9 or 3 for you. It's 9 for me, so it must be 3 for you. Let's go ahead and inhale, lift, exhale, lower. Take your time. Inhaling, lifting up. Exhale, lowering down. Just getting a feel for all the variations that we can do from a sumo. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Drop it in. Inhale, lift it back up. Let's come through center, holding on to the swing. Come into another back bend. And then let's go ahead and walk it back. We're just going to do a little sample plate, a little taste of each version so that we don't over fatigue the upper back and get tender there from hanging all of our weight into the swing in one spot. So let's go ahead and switch it up, and we're going to go behind the swing and try a forward fold. So now from here, we're standing in the center of the mat, and we're going to push the swing down. Now there's tenderness underneath the arms, but there's also tenderness at the hip flexors, because this is the intersection where the lymph nodes are. And this tenderness tends to be a sign of congestion. And I promise you, as you practice, it gets easier and easier to hold your weight with the swing. But just take frequent breaks if you need to. And then what we're going to do is walk it forward, come into a forward fold. See if you can keep pressing your hips forward onto the balls of the feet, and then bending at the hip flexors, come on down. This swing is going to be below the hip bones and on the top of the legs. I'm going to drop my arms and let them be heavy, lifting my sit bones towards the sky, clasping my elbows, and gently just rocking from side to side. Now in this forward fold, I'm going to stay up on the balls of the feet and let the crown of the head drape down towards the floor, holding on to the outer edges of my arms and letting there be more length in the back body. From here, go ahead and stretch it out into a down dog. You can kind of shake out your hair, wiggle your tail, wiggle all around. You are going to feel this intensity on the hip flexors because we're not used to that pressure. Go ahead and lift one leg at a time to have it slightly adjust and see if you can find that sweet spot. From here, go ahead and inhale, arch and look up like a cat-cow. Exhale, round in and pull your navel towards the sky. Let's just get some lubrication along the space in between the spine. Rounding in, doing the cat part. Inhale, arch and look forward. Lifting up. Exhale, rounding in and squeeze the navel. Inhaling, lift. Exhale, round it in. Really good. Just a few rounds there. I'm going to go ahead and let you wag your tail again. I call it happy dog. Do some loop-de-loops or figure eights or whatever feels good. Let's try adding a leg lift here. Inhale, lift the left leg up. Exhale, pull knee to nose. Okay. Inhale, lift. Exhale, squeeze, activate the core. Inhale, lift. Watch the lines of energy here, right? So we're stacking the bones. Hands are shoulder distance, feet are hip distance. Using your breath, squeeze, activate the core, and then inhale, lift, press your heel towards the sky. Second side, come through a down dog. Just take a moment to reset and wiggle your tail. And then go ahead and lift. This is going to be not too much longer because I can tell your hip flexors are getting a little sore. Lift the right leg up. Exhale, knee to nose. So inhale, lift and pull forward with your fingertips. Long lines of energy. Exhale, squeeze and round in. Inhaling, lift. Exhale, knee to nose. Paying attention to the breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, squeeze. So inhale, lift, and press your heel towards the sky. And then exhale, round in. This time, inhale, lift. Last time, we're going to pulse on each side. Pulse, pushing the back of the head and the heel towards the sky, activating the back body for 5 breaths. Very good. Stay with it. And then we're going to bring that foot down, wag the tail, reset in between. Happy dog. And then second side, inhale, left leg pulses. Lift as high as you can. Activate the back body. Lift and pulse just for 5 breaths. Remember to inhale deeply and exhale completely. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back to your happy dog. Now the last pose we're going to do here is called a folded leaf. You're going to slide to the front of the mat. Let your forearms touch down. Your feet are going to float. So your weight is supported on your elbows. The crown of the head is pointing down. And we're just going to allow ourselves to gently rock from side to side. Alrighty. Really let it go. So see if you can drop even more. The swing is going to be supporting your weight by your legs, below your hip bones. This little bug biting me. And then when you're ready, feet touch down, and we're going to walk it forward, walk it forward. Feet go past the center of the mat. Hands keep pulling forward. Keep tension on the swing, and then come up through angel wings if you can. Beautiful. Hold on to the swing to come to stand. And just take a moment to feel what happened there. Notice the difference. From the time that we begun, we can spend 5 minutes in the swing and get like an amazing shift in the body. So we usually will do about an hour and a half or 2 hours in a workshop. But just 5 minutes of hanging, you'll feel a tremendous difference. Okay, so we're going to come back to using the swing with all the pieces of equipment, but I want to move on to showing you how to use the handholds by themselves. We're going to do some standing poses. So let's just say you're just starting out and you don't love the feeling of hanging by your armpits, and coming into a forward fold and having the swing on the front of the hips also didn't feel that great. Sometimes there's tenderness here for women if they've had pregnancies or C-sections or any sort of problems with the reproductive system. It can be really intense at first. It'll be incredibly helpful as we move along, especially for some of the pelvic floor exercises that we do to help women. But for now, let's just use the accessories, the handholds and the leg loops, to show you what kind of variations we can do. So I'm going to stand in the center of the mat, and we're going to go for a sumo squat again. Now from here, I'm coming into a wrist wrap. You can hold on with your fingers, but they tend to give out a little bit faster. So we're going to hold with our wrists. So I wrap it around the top of the wrists, and then I grab and tighten, and then I'm going to walk my feet out to about 9 and 3 on the mat. Now from here, I'm just going to hang all of my body weight and hang straight down. Once I can fully support myself with my hands, I'm going to feel a stretch through my arms and shoulders, my rib cage, my hips, and the same into the legs, all the way down to my feet. It feels amazing. And again, the alignment principle for sumo is the plumb line or the pillar. So the crown of the head is straight up towards the sky. We don't want to let our head hang off. Most people have a habit of looking down from computer work and sitting and all that stuff. We also want to make sure our hips are dropped. So you're not pushing your hips forward. You have to really deepen in your hip creases, roll your pubic bone down and under so your tailbone can point straight down. And then from there, it's fun to add some twists, right? I always come into little shimmies shifting from side to side, and twists. So just play for a few minutes. I do call the original practice aerial yoga play because I would love to give you some time in each pose to explore and experience the body in a new way. Super important to play. Most important part. So we're going to get fit and we're going to have fun. We're going to get flexible and strong, but remember to play. You know, the whole practice is like a heart-opening practice and an upliftment practice. And when we give ourselves a chance to explore the body, it really helps to release the buildup of tension and stress that lives in the muscles, that lives in the tissue, that lives in the joints. And this is how we heal. So I'm just working my body from side to side. You probably feel your hands getting a little tired. When and if that happens, go ahead and just come to stand and shake them out and give them a little break. It's totally okay to take frequent breaks, especially when you're working with something new. It's kind of like rock climbing. You just give them a little shake. You get a little relief there. And then we're going to come back in just for one more round. I'm going to show you how to do some core activations while we're here. And these are going to be our more gentle restorative core activations. So you're going to bring your feet towards the front of the mat like you're sitting in a chair. And then you're just going to march in place. Okay. So I call these knee lifts. So you can do them one at a time, all the way up. See if you can bring your knee all the way up to your chest and just lift high enough so you're using your core and not just your hip flexor, right? If anybody has a strong core and they like to do harder ones, you can swing your leg forward and back, and that will activate a little bit more of the musculature. Then if you really like a strong core, you can float and do 2 knee lifts at the same time. They're very hard. So I suggest staying here at the beginner level and just march in place. It's a good way to build the strength in order to move into some of the more advanced poses. And you're hanging all of your weight, keeping your shoulders engaged, and you do as many as you can, and your hands will probably give out first. So then you come to stand. Very good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to keep moving on with our little sample platter here. And now we're going to go for going for the leg loops with our hands holding on to the center of the leg loops at the bottom, all bunched up. So I use the leg loops for many things. One of the ways that I like to use the leg loops is for lengthening and strengthening. So the way that I'm going to use the leg loops first to show you is to do some lunges. So I'm going to step forward with my left foot, and my right foot is going to be a little bit past the center of the mat. And then from here, I'm just going to simply keep my crown of the head towards the sky, stacking the bones. So that means my knee doesn't go past my ankle joint. And I'm just going to, I call it kind of swimming, where I can swim my arms out to the sides and forward again. And I'm really pressing down strongly to activate and engage the arm strength, the arm muscles. Now from here, I'm going to keep my arms forward and I'm going to pulse, which means I'm going to go from bent knee to straight leg while pressing down with my arms at the same time. I really love using these props and the equipment to keep the alignment and work on strength while doing some of these more basic yoga poses. We're just in a forward lunge, but my crown of the head is towards the sky. I'm not head diving. I'm really paying attention to my core, and I'm activating the underbelly of the arms. Just feels amazing. Plus I am doing some lunges here and using the quads. So then I'm going to press back to the center of the mat and change sides. Let's go ahead and step forward into a lunge with the right foot, making sure that the knee doesn't go past the ankle. And let's go ahead and swim it out to the side. So I'm pressing down strongly, keeping tension on the leg loops, crown of the head towards the sky, and using my legs hip distance to stack the bones. And then from here, I'm going to come forward and I'm going to come to straight legs, pressing down with the arms, and then go ahead and exhale and bend a knee, lunge. Inhale, straighten and press. Find your balance. Exhale, bend and straighten. If you really do this, it's called like isometrics. If you do this with a lot of control, it actually can be quite strengthening. It can be quite good for the flappy part of the arm here. So we're building strength as we gain flexibility. I like to work those two things together. And then we're going to press and step back to the center of the mat. And I'd like to show you how I use the leg loops behind the swing. So no swing yet still, just leg loops. And now I'm going to do a wrist wrap again, where I wrap it around the top of the wrist, standing at the back of the mat. I'm going to grab and squeeze strongly and come into a squat. So we just did some arm presses, and now in a squatting position, I'm just going to gently rock my hips from side to side. It feels really, really good. I'm opening up the lower back. I'm giving some space for the kidneys and releasing the sacrum and SI joints. From here, I'm going to do a little bit of strengthening. You don't have to do anything crazy. We're going to lean back, inhale, lift, and then exhale, bicep curl, leading with the chest. Go ahead and inhale, come on back down. Exhale, squat. Inhale, lift. Exhale, pull. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, sit on down. So I call these the TRX moves, because anything we do with the TRX straps, we can actually do with the leg loops in the swing. But it's a little bit more comfortable because we can wrap it around our wrists and get a better grip. And I suggest just doing these for as long as feels good. You can just do 2 or 5 or 10. But whenever you're done, come on back to a squat where your bum is either on the ground or just barely touching or floating. And then allow yourself to have a gentle rock from side to side where you're opening up the intercostals, the space between the ribs, and also lengthening through the lower back. Okay, go ahead and inhale, lift. Come on up to stand. We're going to release the leg loops. And if you do feel like you need a break and you're done for now, you're welcome to hop into the swing and come into a cocoon. Okay, otherwise what we're going to do is we're going to utilize all the equipment together. So I'm going to use the leg loops, the handholds, and the swing in combination. Let me just make sure there's nothing else that I wanted to. Yeah, so we're going to use the leg loops all together. So I can come into some standing poses, but I'm going to save that for another video where I go into some more intermediate strengthening and stretching. But there's lots of different standing poses we can do. Anything that you do in a normal yoga class, you can translate into the swing. And I will give you just one little example of how we can use the swing for balance. So a lot of times when we're in yoga, we can do tree pose. That's usually pretty easy for some of us. But then when we get into doing standing poses with the leg forward or out, it can get a little shaky and we wind up falling over instead of really gaining that length and that strength. So what I wind up doing is having people hold on to the leg loops or handholds and then using the swing to support the leg. And then you can try coming out to the side or picking the leg up, but then you have something to hold on to. Okay, so that's one of my favorite ways to use the swing for balance and standing poses, is to go ahead and you can even, without holding on, try opening up. That would be more advanced, but it's also nice to hold on to either the leg loops or the handholds and try some of the variations. So from there, we do some flying and flips in the advanced poses, but you can also just use the swing to help you come into balance, warrior 3, and all of those poses. Okay, moving along in our sample pack, we will end in a cocoon, so we will come back to that one. But let's go ahead and come back to our sumo squat. From here, we're going to incorporate the leg loops, and then we'll build up from there a stronger practice. Standing in the center of the mat, pushing the swing down nice and low. Make sure the leg loops are a little bit lower if you want to do an easier version. When you bring them up higher, they are going to be more challenging because you're going to get a deeper stretch. So if you have one of my swings, it is 3 or 4 notches down from the carabiner. So I moved it down to number 4 to make it a little bit easier. I was just doing an advanced practice. So now I want to bring them down and make it a little bit lower. I'm going to come into my sumo squat, forearm press, slide to the front of the mat, and heel toe out to 10 and 2. Okay, so I always keep my arms wrapped around. I'm focusing on my plumb line, right? Crown of the head towards the sky, tailbones sitting straight down, dropping the hips, keeping the upper body engaged. I'm going to grab for the right leg loop, pull it down strongly, and see if I can get my foot through the center and let the leg loop slide up to the knee. Second side, now we're going to float. We're going to grab for the leg loop with both hands and get the foot through there. This can be very challenging until we do our core strengthening. So one thing you can do is grab the same foot as hand and help it up. It's okay to give a helping hand if you need some help getting the leg loop on. Okay, this is called chillaxing pose. This is our number one chill pose while floating. Now we're incorporating all the equipment together. And we're going to use our fingers interlaced behind the back of the head to support the neck. We always want to support the neck. You don't want to leave the class with more tension in the body than when you begun. We want to create more length and more space. So hips heavy, heart open, leading with the heart, head relaxed back into the hands. That is our mantra. And we're going to slow it down for a second. I'm going to show you some more variations with the leg loops. The leg loops at the knees is medium. When we slide them down to the ankles, it's called floating Buddha, and that's a little bit harder. We're supporting more of our weight and we're getting a deeper stretch. To make it easier, in case you're wondering what to do when the tension underneath the arms feels like it's too much, you can always go into a forearm press or chillax in arms. But we're also going to practice coming into what I call a high skydiver position and work on a pose called training wheels, a sequence that helps with the neck and shoulder tension. So always reach for your knees and slide up when I say leg loops. The swing is underneath the arms, the leg loops are underneath the knees right now. We're going to reach up as high as we can and do a bicep curl, squeezing the legs together and come to stand. Depending on your outfit, that might be easy. And if the clothes got bunched up, just wiggle them around and see if you can get the leg loops up into the groin. And I call this the high skydiver position. So now you can feel most of your weight is being supported with your legs, and it's not nearly as much tension under the arms. So whenever you need a break, come up into high skydiver with the leg loops. It's completely welcome, so you can get used to this pressure under the arms. Now from this position, you can also hold on to the handholds and just float like this, right? So you can support the weight with your hands and your legs simultaneously, and then there's no pressure under the arms whatsoever. So try these variations whenever you need to. It's 100% okay. But from here, I'm going to use the swing, transitioning it from behind my back to my neck. And in this pose, I'm going to keep holding on to support my weight, but I'm going to gently bend my knees. And I'm going to allow my hips to drop and get a nice, deep neck stretch. As long as I keep holding on, my neck is safe. And I can try rocking, where I'm allowing the swing to stretch the cervical spine by lifting my chin gently, as well as dropping my chin and nodding. So first we're just going to do a yes motion, where we're lifting and dropping straight up and down with the chin. And it should feel really, really good. If at any time it feels uncomfortable, just come on out. And then I'm going to try looking from side to side and adding a little bit of sway in the swing. And this digs a little bit more into the scalenes, the sides of the neck. And we're doing a little bit of tractioning here. And again, it only goes as far as it feels good, helping the neck to release tension very gently. The more you drop your hips, the deeper the stretch. When you're ready, we're going to come on up and get our feet back to the center of the mat. Put the swing back underneath the arms. And we're going to try to come into a skydiver position, so you can see why I call this high skydiver. So when I lean back, you'll notice that I have my hands on the swing, and there's a little space here between the swing and the leg loops. I'm going to bring my hands to prayer around the swing, and press them forward through the space and open up my arms. From here, walk your feet to the back of the mat and push your hips forward. In this position, I'm teeing the arms, and now I feel like I'm skydiving. You can even pull your legs apart so that you're completely floating, and try banking from side to side if that feels good. Only if it feels good. Just try the variations. I really like adding some twists to release the tension that lives in the spine. But with the toes down, it's just as effective, so you don't have to float. In fact, you might be able to go a little bit further if you push your feet into the ground. So my crown of the head is still lifting up. I'm pressing the back of my head into an invisible wall so that I can lead with my heart. Arms are nice and strong. From skydiver, I'm going to bend my elbows. I'm coming into a flex position, like I'm flexing, and letting the swing slide closer to the elbow crease. And then I can pick up my feet and keep the knees wide, feet together. I call this butterfly. So drop your heart, relax the upper body, keep pulling out through the crown of the head, and make sure that your spine still straight, stays in a straight line. You don't ever want your head to completely hang off the top of the spine. Just see if you can keep pulling up and out, but drop the chest so you can open up the shoulders. It should feel really good for the neck and shoulders. We're still focusing mainly on the upper body here. And then we're going to bring our feet back down. I usually let them land wide at 9 and 3, and then engage the arms to pull myself back up. Woo! You might get a little lightheaded. Thread yourself back through and push the leg loops back down to the knees. We're going to hang out here and chillax in. Catch our breath. Use your chillaxin arms. Interlace the fingers to support the head. Gently rock your body from side to side. Whew. Just let that feel good. So the swaying motion from side to side is going to start to release and open up the connective tissue. So all the tension that lives in the body isn't always in the muscles. It's actually in the fascia, or the sheath that's over the muscle, between the skin and the muscle. So we want to gently rock from side to side to loosen all that up. It's similar to what people are doing with the foam rolling and melt. Okay. So let's come to center. We're going to try our skydiver once again. This is a little bit of a step up, a little bit more of an advanced version. So if the leg loops slide up to the groin and slide up to the hips again, that's okay. But if we hold on to the leg loops and bicep curl, come on up, we're going to try and balance and get our hands in front again so they're at a T. And this is our skydiver. Again, if the legs are not that open, it'll just slide right back up, and that's okay. You can come into the high skydiver version. It'll just happen naturally. But if your hips are open and it feels good, we're going to keep the leg loops right above the knee joint. Okay. From here, from skydiver, we're going to bend the elbows, bend the knees, coming into another variation. This is amazing for opening up the hips, opening up the heart, letting the belly drop. The lower back should be happy, and pulling straight out through the crown of the head. So don't drop the chin, just let the chin be neutral and lead with the heart here. Flexing and holding all your weight with your arms. Let's go ahead and reverse it. Sink your hips back, pull your feet back down to center, and hold on to the swing, lean back. So that's probably the biggest pose that we do in a basic class, is our butterfly pose. It's incredible. There's not much like it in terms, I guess if we were laying on the floor in a frog pose, it would be a similar hip opening. But with gravity doing the work, we're going much deeper into the stretch. And the same with opening up the shoulders. So from there, we're going to get into a chill flow and reset the spine. So let's come to center and inhale to the arms. Exhale, come into a child's pose, round in and breathe. Take your time here. You can always stay in a floating child's pose if you need a pause. Otherwise, let's go ahead and blossom open, long arms, long legs, star. Keep the hips heavy, heart open and head relaxed. Exhale, round back in for child's pose. Wrap your arms around the leg loops and bow in. Inhale, arch and open for star. Exhale, round in and squeeze for child's. Inhale, blossom, star. Exhale, round in. Inhale, lift and open. Exhale, round it and squeeze. So stay in your child's pose if you need a break. From here, we're going to move on to a couple more poses and let the swing slide down to the hips. So right now the swing's at the upper back, and we're going to let it slide down to the lower back. So it looks like this. We're going to reach up and hold on to the swing. We're going to press our hips towards the sky and come into a supported back bend. So stay holding on for now. Just let the crown of the head point down towards the ground. Knees stay bent. Feet are pulled in towards your sit bones. And you might need to wiggle a little bit from side to side to get it into a spot that feels good. Just take some time there. Now this is like a bow pose, but you can stay holding on if it feels like enough. If you want a deeper stretch, reach back and grab for your ankles and lift your heart, pulling your feet away from your sit bones. Nice, big, deep breaths into the belly. Stay here for 5 more breaths if you can. Whenever you're ready to come up, just reach up and grab for the swing. Bicep curl, come to sit. And if you're not used to doing inversions or big back bends, you'll get a bit of a head rush and you'll get all this blood and oxygen flowing to your brain. You don't have to go completely upside down to get the benefits of the practice. But if there's any lower back pain in that sequence, in that version, then I'd say just stay in a child's pose and back off. We're going to come back to chillaxin one more time and try it all together. Let's piece it all together. So we're going to inhale to the arms. Exhale, child. Remember, you can always stay here if that's enough for you today. Inhale, blossom for star. Exhale, reach up and grab for the swing, bend the knees, and slide into a bow pose. Pulling the heels towards the bum, letting the crown of the head point down towards the floor, and swing is right across the hips. Reach back and grab for the ankles, and open up the chest, pulling the feet away from the body, away from the heart. And then release, reach up, grab for the swing, and come to sit. So if you're used to doing back bends, that should feel really, really good. If it's a little intense, just hold on as high as you can and come into a mini back bend to begin. And then as it gets more comfortable, let your hands slide down and go into a deeper version. But yeah, in time, what we're going to do is learn how to move the swing from the upper back to the lower back and massage out all the stickiness that lives along the paraspinal muscles. I'm sure like 99% of the people that I work with, there's back tension and back pain. And I use the swing to massage out. It's like a roughing session where we dig into the muscles and fascia and release that buildup of tension. All right, very good. Let's go ahead and come on up. So we're going to reach up, reach for our knees, slide up the leg loops as high as we can, and pull ourselves up to a standing position. Whenever you need a break from the swing, digging into the armpits, remember to come to stand in the center of the mat. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use our hand holds here. Because like I said, we're going to try a little bit of everything today in mastering the basics. So first of all, we want to get these into a good position. There is a sweet spot. There's a spot where it feels better. And we're going to let ourselves hang like we're parachuting. Okay. And then from here, we're going to try some core activations again, like we did when we started. But you'll notice with the leg loops on, we're able to lift both knees, maybe not as high as before, but we're going to go ahead and inhale, lengthen the knees towards the ground. Exhale, squeeze the knees up towards the chest. And we're in our full body hang, but we're doing it with the leg loops and the swing incorporated. So let's work on our core activation. Let's work on picking up the knees, squeezing them together, and lifting them towards the chest for 10 total. If you can, just do 5 if that's enough for today. But build up to getting a nice strong core, which will help support the lower back and lengthen the spine. So that's one way that I like to use the hand holds to hold on. We can also slide down to holding on to the top of the leg loops if that felt like too much on the wrists, and do some straight leg lifts here. So let's go ahead and do 5 of these. Inhale here, exhale, lift. Holding on, doing a little tiny bicep curl at the same time. Long legs if you can. Just lift as high as you can for today. And then bring the feet down when you're ready. Okay, standing in the center of the mat, we're going to press the swing down one more time to below the shoulder blades. Slide on in, let the leg loops find the knees. And to finish up our variety pack, we're going to switch, pushing the leg loop down to the ankles and feeling what it's like to do some of the more advanced poses. So it's the same as chillaxin, but with the leg loops at the ankles, you can feel with straight legs when we sway from side to side, I call it windshield wipers. Make sure you're dropping the hips as much as you can, and at the same time lifting the heart. We have this dynamic tension where we're pressing down in the lower body and we're lifting up through the upper body. That's what's going to lengthen the spine. Support your head with your hands whenever possible. Let's just come into a few hip stretches and then we're going to get you guys in cocoon. You're doing really great. We'll add in some more in our workshop tomorrow, but I just wanted to go over some of the basics and all the different ways that we use the swing. So we're going to come to center. Let's bend the right knee in towards the chest. Hold on to whatever you can reach. Maybe it's the foot, maybe it's the knee, maybe it's just the leg loop, but pull the foot in towards the chest while you drop the hips. You can even rock a little bit from side to side to start to open up any tension that's living in the legs, especially in the glutes. Go ahead and release that foot. Inhale here, exhale second side, holding onto the foot, the knee, whatever you can reach. Get a deep stretch. If this feels like too much pressure under the arms, go ahead and slide the leg loops up to the knees and do a seated pigeon where you just cross the ankle over the other side. So it's okay to move the leg loops up one to the medium version if hanging out at the ankles feels like it's too much under the arms. You can also just give it a little hop or come to stand and give yourself some relief whenever you need. Okay, so let's do that one more time, whichever version you like better. Bending the foot in. Let's start with the right side. Pulling the knee in towards the chest. Rocking a little bit from side to side. Loosening up the tension in the hips. Inhale, open. Exhale, bend the left knee out to the side. Pulling the toes in towards the sternum. And rocking a little bit. That's right. Let's either the chill flow or go ahead and let's try the vinyasa flow. Let's inhale, open the arms, star. Exhale, bring the hands to prayer, namaste. Squeeze the legs together, lean back. You're going to hook with your forearms this time. Nice big stretch to the neck and shoulders. That should feel really yummy. And then holding on to the swing, let it slide towards your waist. Similar to what we did with the leg loops at the knees, if that's your variation. Inhale, bicep curl, come to sit. And let's try that flow one more time. Inhale, to the arms. Exhale, star. Inhale, namaste. Exhale, squeeze the legs together. Inhale, press the hips up and lean back. Nice big breath. Inhale, hold on to the swing. And exhale, let the crown of the head point down towards the floor. This is as big of an inversion as we're going to do in our basic training. So go ahead and bicep curl up to sit. Let's go ahead and take the leg loops off. You guys have done such a wonderful job. Thank you for sticking with it. Just hang out in your sumo squat. Wiggle your hips around a little bit. And then to come on out, we're going to hold on to the swing and walk back, walk back. Okay. As promised, we're going to get into a nice long shavasana and spread the swing out and try cocooning. In our cocoon, we're going to practice using the leg loops. The leg loops extended will give us a little bit more space. So grab a big handful and get it underneath your bum, and then make sure you can stretch it out so it lengthens all the way to your knees. It's important that you have enough material underneath you for you to lay back. And then you also want to make sure you have enough material so that it covers all the way past the hairline, all the way past the crown of the head. Okay, now once you get it into the right position, you can wiggle yourself forward and back. You're going to go ahead and grab for each of the leg loops and put those on. I like to spread those out as well. Everything spreads out for more comfort. So we're going to go ahead, put both leg loops on. Go ahead and wiggle your hips from side to side a little bit. Stretch your arms overhead. You can let your fingers dangle out the back towards the floor, or give yourself a big hug and wrap your arms over your chest, whatever feels best for your shoulders today. Give yourself a nice long shavasana. Stay here for 10-15 minutes, just dropping in. Whenever we get into our final relaxation, we gain the most benefit from our practice. This is when we're absorbing and receiving and integrating all the goodness of the swing. So take your time, hang out here for as long as you like. I'm gonna let you drop in and say goodbye now. Thank you so much for practicing today. I am Jen Healy, and you can find out more about the AYRx Yoga Swings at AYRxYogaswings.com, or go to aerialyogarx.com for more about my workshops, trainings, and practice. Thank you so much, and I look forward to catching you next time. Namaste.